Hey guys, it's Glenn from glenscarcollection.com, and I just wanted to give you an update on my 2017 Porsche Carrera. I haven't driven this in a while because it's been winter, so this is the first time I'm taking it out in a long time. So what I do is when I store a car, I put it away, put it on a battery tender, pump up the tires maybe an extra 5 psi over OEM. And I don't put stable or something because I will drive the cars as long as there's no salt on the road. So we had snow, it melted. We had really heavy rain, which got all the salt off the road. High winds, so you see there's a lot of branches down. So this is my first drive, I guess, really of the year of this car. So I thought I'd take you along for a ride and give you an update, give you my thoughts, values on this car, what I like and what I don't like, plan mods. I bought my first mod. I just have to install it, and it should install pretty quick. So guess in the comments below what that mod is going to be. At some point, I'm going to do a tune and maybe a more aggressive alignment. I'm not sure. I have the sport exhaust, which is pretty good, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do an exhaust on the car. I'm definitely going to do an exhaust on the Audi R8 V10. Factory exhaust is way too quiet. This already has the OEM Porsche sport exhaust, so I probably will leave well enough alone. Now, I bought this car. You're probably seeing this video in March of 2022. Can you believe it's March of 2022? So I bought this car in May of 2020 at the height of the lockdown. I wasn't even allowed inside the Porsche dealer. A lot of nice houses on this street. A lot of 3-car garages. Maybe we could find some 4-car garages. You know what they call a house with a 4-car garage? A good start. So I bought this in basically the height of the lockdown, so I got a great deal. This car had 8,000 miles CPO. So the way Porsche CPO works is you get 2 years unlimited miles from when the 4-year 50,000 mile warranty expires. A lot of branches, got to be careful here. Whoops. So since this car only had 8,000 miles, it had 1 year left on the 450 because it's 2017, most likely sold in 2016, right? Because we do model year 2017, unlike the rest of the world. And as long as I don't go over 50,000 miles in that one remaining year on that 450, then you get the 2 years unlimited miles. As soon as you go over 50,000 miles, your 4-year 50 mile expires, and then that 2-year unlimited mileage kicks in. Now, unlike other German cars, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, they all went to 1 year unlimited mileage for their CPO. Porsche still has 2. So even if you can't afford a 911, you know, if you could find a Boxster CPO or a Cayman or even a Macan, which is probably the cheapest, or an old Panamera, you can get that CPO. Porsches are very expensive if something goes wrong. They are very reliable. I would say they're much more reliable than a BMW, Mercedes, or Audi. And they don't really need, that's probably why they give you a 2-year warranty, because it's, we answered our own question, right? Because it's such a reliable car, fine, we'll give you 2 years. Cars that are less reliable, the other ones I just mentioned, we're only gonna give you 1 year. Like my Audi S8, nothing happened in the first year, everything went wrong the second year. And unfortunately, I love that car, but I had to dump it because it was so expensive. All right, let's see, we'll put the sport exhaust, we'll put it in sport, which gives us the sport exhaust. And now we can accelerate. We finally got this car up to temperature. All right, finally. It's been forever since I drove this car, and I just love rear engine. There's definitely a learning curve to be fast with a rear engine car, but once you master, and it takes a while. I mean, it probably took me a couple years when I used to autocross my 996 C4S, but once you master that weight transfer and that bias of the rear engine, there's nothing like it. And I would say you're faster over any kind of road or racetrack. I used to track a Z06, and the one car I couldn't beat coming out of the turns, because the turn before the longest straightaway, as far as lap time goes, is always the most important turn. And even though I had a 400 horsepower Z06 compared to, say, you know, a 997 or whatever was on the track with me, I couldn't beat him coming out of the turn because he had all that weight over his rear wheels, where I struggled for traction, where it was the exact opposite for them. I don't know where all these cars came from. I think everybody decided to go for a drive today. So I bought this car with 8,000 miles with essentially a 3-year unlimited mile warranty, because with 8,000 miles, I wasn't gonna hit 50,000 in that first 12 months, for $75,000. I think they were asking about 80, and I got it down to 75. They weren't selling any cars there. This car now, with a manual transmission in Miami Blue, the trade-in value is about 100. So I've driven this car almost 2 years, about 22 months, and it's gone up $25,000. But so is every car. So part of it is the manual transmission, part of it is the color, and part of it is the crisis. So I would think a car like this probably would reset after this buying frenzy is over and there's more supply. 992s, you have to step up to an S, so I think that helps. That at least for now, this is the last base. I don't have rev matching, so you need Sport Chrono, that little watch here, stopwatch, and that gives you rev matching. So honestly, I didn't even know when I bought the car. I was driving home, and it seemed like I was doing the rev matching, not the car. And I asked the dealer, because they called me back about some paperwork or something, and I said, no rev matching? I thought that was, you know, stock. You had the sport button, you had automatically rev matching. That's not true. You'd only get that, I believe, with the Sport Chrono package, which actually gives you Sport Plus and little acceleration. So you get a little of those pops and bangs with the Sport exhaust on. I almost never do the Sport suspension unless the roads are really, really smooth, and that kind of helps the body roll a little bit, keeps it a little more controlled. But on roads like this that are bumpy, it really doesn't help much. What else can I tell you about the car? People ask, it's been reliable. It's been back to the dealer for nothing but just service. So I just did an oil change on it. I did that myself, and I'm probably going to need rear tires soon. So rear tires, in my experience, they last about 10,000 miles on these cars. So it had new tires before I bought it. So let's say 8,000 miles, maybe even before that, to be honest. And now we're about to hit 18,000 miles. So that sounds about right. It's been around 10,000 miles. What I'm going to do is I'll turn around here and then we'll go back. So that rev match was by me. Yeah, so it's been back to the dealer for nothing. People asked if they were reliable, and I'm going to tell you it's super reliable because it's been back to the dealer for nothing. No adjustment, no nothing, some working, not software update, nothing. So it's been 100% good to go. Apple CarPlay in 2017. So this is a 991.2. This is when they went to turbos. And the reason I love this car so much, it's actually a rear drive turbo. So it's a narrow body because they're all going to, or they're all the 992s are wide bodies. All the 992s are wide bodies, and this is the last narrow body, and it's also turbo. So it's a rear drive turbo. So the 3.6 964, the Bad Boys car, essentially, I think they had 320 horsepower, and the other iterations on the 3.3s had less than 300 horsepower. So when Porsche put 400 horsepower, they didn't put the all-wheel drive so you could drive in the snow. They put it so you could have some traction. So what I love about this car is rear drive, so it's a very lively rear end. So all-wheel drive would make this an all-weather car. I mean, this still is, if I put snow tires, it'd be fine. I just don't want to put get salt on it, so that's why I couldn't really drive it till a day like today. But I can tell you, it's really an amazing car, and I am so glad that it's rear drive. Now, I wouldn't mind having a second 911, who wouldn't, and go all-wheel drive with that, if that was going to be a daily driver. Like if I got a 992, I'd love to have a 992S manual, maybe a 4S, so I can drive that all year round. To me, the 99, this is a little bigger than the 997, but what people don't know, because of more use of aluminum and lighter weight materials, it's actually, even though it's larger than a 997 and feels larger, I've done 997 reviews on the channel, it's 150 pounds lighter. So even though this is the bigger car, it's a lighter car, and that's why I've grown to love it so much. I've done a lot of reviews of the 991.1, which I think will be a collectible car because it's the last naturally aspirated 911 now that they're all turbos. But I really think this is superior. The power is much greater. I love 911 turbos, whether they're my 993 turbo or a base Carrera turbo, because I just think you have so much more pull in the car. Yeah, it's fun to wind out the 991s, but I don't think they're as good as this, even though I'm sure the market's going to disagree with me, and the 991.1s will be collectible because they're the last naturally aspirated engines. So would I buy this car again? 1,000% yes. I mean, honestly, it would probably be too expensive to buy the car now, especially in this market. You know, 992s are still selling model year 2020 992s are still selling for like MSRP used with 5,000 miles on them. So that's obviously inflating these. I love these. I think this is a good compromise. The 992 is definitely more electronic, faster. My car probably couldn't keep up with a 992 PDK. But you know what? This is still a very fast car. It has a 0 to 60, I think, of about 3.8 to 4 seconds. It feels every bit of that fast. It's very modern. You got to plug it in, but it has Apple CarPlay, and that's really all you need in a car is Apple CarPlay. Honestly, I don't really use anything else. This car was spec'd exactly the way I would spec it, and that is sport exhaust, manual transmission, my favorite color, Miami Blue, which is discontinued. The last year you can get that now is a 2020. So the first year, the 992, you can get Miami Blue. So the only years it was available was model years 2017 to 2020. 17 and 19 are, of course, the 991.2 cars, second generation, the 991. And 2020 were the 992 cars. So you can get a Miami Blue 992, but I don't think you can get it in stick because I don't think the stick was available. It was only available in the S, and I don't think it was available maybe to 2021. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can find a Miami Blue stick 2020. But again, a rare spec. I love it. I just wanted Miami Blue manual. Honestly, I didn't care if it was a GTS, S, or a Carrera. I found this first. This probably sells on the used market about 15,000 less than an S, at least 10 less. And GTS probably another 15 or 20 less. I see GTS is like 125 for this. I see this car at about 100. And usually that's black or silver. If you want a PDK in black or silver, you could probably find that for 90. If you want a manual 2017 base Carrera, that's about 100. And obviously Miami Blue, I think would fetch a higher amount than that. Gas mileage is even good. I almost never use 7th gear because I really just take this around for pleasure. I never take it to work, nothing like that. And I still doubled the mileage on it in the short time that I had it. So we'll do a lot of things. I'll put my first mod very shortly on this car. And then at some point, so we have another 16 months left on that 3-year warranty. Then we'll probably, do an ECU tune and maybe more of like a track alignment just because I like to take this up in the mountains. But so far it's been great. I mean, the alignment's been great. I'll probably need rear tires, probably need another service this year, so we'll document all of that. Thanks again for watching, guys. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.